To take a look at what the papers are offering this morning, this beautiful Wednesday morning, February 28, 2024. Let's start with a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today. From the very top, CBN resumes sale of dollars to BDCs, raise interest rates to 22.75%, something that we just discussed to great detail. More on that on page 3. Mixed reaction trail Tinubu's approval of Oronsai report. Page 22 has more on that report and what it means going forward. Meningitis kills 20 students in Yobe. 3 local governments affected, and we understand that the state government is working around the clock to address the gaps. I mean, this is the season of it because of the heat. You can imagine Yobe is one of the hottest states in the country this time of the year. The big story is talking about the cost of living crisis that led to the NLC nationwide protest as the labor union suspends the second day of protest. Counter rally in Abuja. Police hold demonstrators in Maiduguri. Lagos CP gives water, biscuits to protesters. Yeah, it's a rather unusual but welcome development to see that there's always going to be solidarity beyond just the fact that they are police officers, others are civil servants and protesters. At the end of it all, we're human beings, and more importantly, we are Nigerians who should share the same goal of wanting prosperity for our country. So it's actually a welcome development seeing that video trend online. More on that story on page 4. You can see the picture there from yesterday's protest at the National Assembly, where the march culminated with the leadership of the NLC presenting their demands once again to representatives of the National Assembly. Army court marshals 1 officer, 16 soldiers over gun running in Jos. And this just once again re-emphasizes the call to really sanitize our security architecture and to rid it of all the moles, all the people who are undermining the work of the Nigerian military and other security agencies alike, because you have insiders or people who are culpable and who are working at the heart of our security agencies. 5 killed, 26 rescued in Onitsha collapsed building. Such a sad development in Onitsha yesterday. Police arrests wanted kidnap kingpin in Nasarawa. I must say the police has been working overtime over the past few days. Some of the arrests, some of the rescues, quite commendable. Keep up the good work. Let's take a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper for today. That is what it looks like. Interest rate hike, private sector economists foresee fresh job losses, recession. CBN, of course, has decided to go down this particular path, saying that this is the best course of action. Do some further reading on the Punch newspaper for today to find out more about that story. 50th anniversary of the Punch newspaper. Photo exhibition opens today. Soyinka delivers lecture on Thursday, and you must say that Punch, being one of the foremost leading Nigerian national dailies, has come a long way and still remains not just vibrant but ably positioned to continue to give credible news information, and of course has innovated in this particular industry. So this week, as it marks its 50th anniversary, a lot of events lined up to commemorate what has been a tremendously impacting journey for the Punch newspaper. But the big story on the front page of the Punch newspaper is about Presidency alleging political agenda as protests hit states. No unanimity in protests. Some people leveraging current situation for political gains, says presidential aide. The politicization of some of these developments leaves much to be desired. It always means that what is actually happening is not true, but people who are politically not aligned with the current administration. I believe PDP, APC, Labour Party, NNPP, YPP, everybody can agree that there's hardship in the land. If we're in concession, if there's concession about that, why don't we think that the protests are organic? Police share biscuits, water at Lagos protests. NLC urges Tinubu to end extreme hardship and food crisis. And you can see some of the pictures there from Abuja, from Lagos and Port Harcourt. In other news, federal government completes $700 million gas pipeline in March after 8 years. 3 bodies recovered, 11 rescued as Lagos boat capsizes. That's why I never liked boats. I never even liked, a large body of water. But all of this signposts the need for safety measures all the time on our waterways. Senate probe Ajaokuta Steel over $496 million payment. More on that on page 21 of the Punch newspaper for today. The Guardian is up next, so let's take a look at the front page of the Guardian newspaper for today. And well, this is News Direct. Let's take News Direct anyway. NLC suspends protests, issues 14 days ultimatum to federal government to meet demands. This is, of course, actually it's a 7-day extension to the 14 days ultimatum that they've already issued. So they're extending it further by 7 days. Meningitis hits Yobe. 20 students reportedly die from that unfortunate situation. How 10 trillion intervention funds by previous administrations damaged Nigeria's economy. Okay. A CBN raises benchmark interest rate to record 22.75%. Forensic analysis fingers $2.4 billion false FX claims. You talk about institutionalizing irregularity. This is the height of it. And I must say, one way or the other, we have to find a way to prosecute these cases to serve as a deterrent. Police army foil kidnap attempt in Katsina, rescue 10 victims. It was quite a gallant, encounter if you get to the details of that story. All right, let's take a look at one newspaper before we go. The Nation is up next. NLC protesters in peaceful march over painful reforms. Workers right president. Protests suspended. Senate to streamline CBN's overdraft to federal government. Will Lagos red line change transportation gain? I think this is an editorial on the Nation newspaper. I do like what is happening in Lagos, especially with regards to sanitizing the public transportation system, for instance. FCT safe for investments. Wike tells UK. Igodalo hopeful of victory. Economy will get better, Tinubu assures Nigerians. Speaker Abbas urges patience with government. Haven't we been patient enough? We need to be rewarded for all the patience so far. This was the president, flanked by the chief of staff, as well as other members. Or rather, I can see Adams Oshomole there. I can also see the Minister of Interior during the, I think, the launch of I think it's a report, as you can see, in a book form at the State House yesterday. And finally, borrowers from banks to pay more because the interest rates now has been hiked from 18% to 22.75%. Imagine that. Okay, we're back in the studio with Mr. Ben Sherman, former Director of News at the Voice of Nigeria, to help us analyze some of the big stories from today. As always, Mr. Ben Sherman is looking regal and ready to go. Good morning, Mr. Ben Sherman.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Sunday is taking a sick leave today, so that explains the reason why he's not here.
So that I don't ask.
Yeah, exactly. I'm anticipating the question, so I had to ask already.
Okay.
Okay, where do we start from? Let's start with the protest yesterday. Wasn't particularly as big as we expected it, but it's something that's been ongoing for the past 2 weeks. And yesterday, across the country, we saw people come out again, Nigerian workers, to drive home the same message. Enough is enough. We need succor now. And apparently, after all is being said and done, they decided to review their next step, and they said, okay, we're going to call it off. The 2-day protest is only going to end with that 1-day protest because they think it's been successful. What is your take on the state of affairs and what this whole situation is telling you about what is happening in this country?
Yeah, you see, when you talk of the state of affairs, hunger is still around. People looking so sad in the streets. It's so palpable. You can see them. So that's the state of affairs. And they tell you we are protesting against hunger. And in protesting against hunger, they're also making it, shouting it very loud by way of action that government should do something. And when people say it's not that successful, well, I don't know what that successful means. But when you look at it, TUC also decided to pull out. And if that had been a kind of a joint force, it would have been of a greater magnitude. But all the same, they made the point, and even when negotiations were up to late hours of Monday, well, Labour still had to say, look, Nigerians, come out, and it's like a give and take. Okay, government will still go out for 1 day. The other day, we'll give it for you to do some rethinking. And I could see that the photos are all over. But my worry is hoping that the policemen in Lagos will not be dealt with. Because you could see one almost playing the role of a hero, standing on some open vans and sharing pure water to protesters. Some of our zealous security men would just say, that wasn't your calling. You ought not to have done so.
But it did show solidarity, didn't it?
Yeah,
we've seen this happen elsewhere. Say, for instance, during the Arab Spring or some other public protests where police officers say, listen, we understand what you're doing, and we're here to echo that voice. I mean, this is surely a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good thing, but if you draw a kind of a comparison with the Arab Spring, look at the way it started. Yes, a graduate, Abu Azizi, was just selling vegetable, and the policemen actually crushed his wares and threw them away and said, look, I'm a graduate. Say to heck, what is it about the graduate? Is this the job you do? Then the guy just bought petrol, spilled it over himself and set himself alight and died. And that was responsible for the Arab Spring. But that of Nigeria is actually very, very peaceful. If you draw a kind of a comparison, the police use a force in the case of Algeria, as the case of Abu Azizi. Now you compare that with Nigeria here, they are giving pure water. But my worry is, yes, it could be peaceful, the security men, if it turns out to be good, it's also going to reflect on their salaries. But my worry is for them coming out in uniform and sharing it's like government, they're telling government, we are with these protesters, kind of. If they had wanted, you could just keep this water in some jerry cans, in some open spaces, you just pick and pass without distributing.
I think it's good PR for the Nigeria police. I think it has brought them some sort of public support.
Let's wait for the next 1 week. If there is no query anywhere, we'll convene here next Wednesday.
I think it was green lighted by Oga at the top, probably.
Okay.
before
no, I wish, honestly, I wish that it was so.
Yeah.
But I do know of a police officer who was DPO, who would rather negotiate with people, brought all tribal associations, their leadership, and said, look at the role here. See how many of your people are engaged. You see your tribe, see how many are. I'm not here to imprison your people, but can you go back as tribal unions and begin to talk to your people? You didn't come to Lagos to destroy your lives or disgrace your tribe or disgrace your parents. And for that reason, that area started getting low, very low crime rate, a kind of. And the way the community started giving this police officer some gifts, some awards, of course, some people were annoyed somewhere that was beyond his capacity.
Right.
That's Nigeria for you.
Yeah, but okay, in talking about the protests, right, the NLC National Executive Council met late yesterday to review their position, and they decided to call it off, extended their ultimatum to the federal government. There were so many Nigerians who didn't agree with the protests in the first place because they say things are hard already. Protesting is only going to halt economic activities, and they don't believe that this is the way to go forward. But what do you make of the NLC's, extension of the ultimatum, and also saying that, listen, we're giving the government room to negotiate further on our demands for Nigerians?
Yeah, if government is saying, look, why don't you suspend this? Or even within the labor itself, the very top members just feel like, okay, we've made a point. Let's give the government a kind of a breathing space to see what steps they will take in view of what they've been saying they would do, even though continuously and incessantly government will always promise and not fulfill as agreed. So I think I'll give it to NLC, I'll give it to government. If government says, look, stop this, one day is okay, let's see what we can do. You now say, okay, we're going to stop it, but we'll count some days again to give you some grace. It's not as if government, to my thinking, is happily unleashing terror of hunger on Nigerians. No, it's not a deliberate act, but a child must always cry at home that the father should give or do something, no matter what. So I put the place of the father of the man of the house as the government, and the child in the house as labor. So there has to be that consistent demand and supply. Labor would demand, it's the duty of government to supply. But also in terms of reasonability, labor will look at it and say, okay, we've seen the purchasing power, we've seen the financial muscle of our parents. What do we do? It's also for the parents to now say, look, my child, you know this economy very well. You know inflows. You know how many companies are not working. And we are just simply striving. And like they're saying, look, the last regimes, even though we are not told which regimes are responsible for these wars, according to Cardoso. I think that the blame game should not be the issue now. Instead of just saying, look, we are doing this. Don't even tell us we are going to do. Tell us we are doing this. And will tell us, look, we are going to, we are sharing this. Look at the example in Zulum. One begins to wonder, what really, where is Zulum getting his own money? See how he's giving palliatives here and there. I mean, they all are over the place. But when you look at some other states, what Zulum, you look at around 1.5 billion shared, when indeed at the federal level, look at the Minister of Humanitarian, or what is it now, Beta Odu, she was still battling with 500 and something million, not billion. For a state, Zulum was and is sharing 1.5 billion. We're talking of a state, a federal government sharing in Cross River State, Lagos, Ogun, and Ondo, about 5 states. That meager, I'll call it meager amount, when you compare it with what Zulum alone in Borno is doing, it's good omen that is coming from. I think that in terms of peer review mechanism, truly they should look at what Zulum is doing. Where is he getting his money? And if you look at how much...
I don't think it's much about where the money is coming from. It's about the will to do it.
Exactly.
I think it's a question of...
It's just like some people just say he's being given some special funds to do what he is doing. When indeed many other states down south, Niger Delta, they receive far above what Borno government is receiving.
Okay.
What are we seeing?
Okay. Let's talk about the situation with the Oranshire report. Mixed reactions have trailed the pronouncement by the Tinubu administration to implement it. Some of these agencies will be gone, some of them will be scrapped. Just want to get your quick reaction to this whole conversation, Oranshire report.
Honestly, I weep right inside me. I know the energy. When Voice of Nigeria was created in 1990, excised from Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, it was the external arm of the broadcasting in Nigeria, for example. We were the first recruits to run that, and we know the energy some of us put. I don't need to begin to count here. Now we're going to subsume all those things, and when you say workforce will not be lost, jobs will not be lost, I think it should. That is just a kind of a political statement. If you have two DGs, DG Evers and DG Vaughan, are you saying job loss will not be there? If you have two directors of news, directors of engineering, personnel, are you saying that all those things will still be there? You have two directors, same equal, same functions. So I think it's political thing, so to speak. But in doing all of this, I don't know that APC that was always condemning PDP will now see a good thing from PDP. Steve Orasanya report and begin to implement. Well, so but I think in terms of needs assessment, you must have done your assessment. Is there a need to do this? And if you did that, what is also the impact of what you're going to do? If you want a mobile small workforce, just like when there was coronavirus, you could see that assistant director, deputy directors, and directors general, they all were the ones working, except for technical staff that you can't just do without. The workforce became so few and work was efficient. Some people were then saying, so it means this other group could go. So it says a lot in terms of service delivery. It's really not about the population. But again, government is sometimes, not just sometimes, you also have to take care of the welfare of the people in view of what you have in Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, the directing principle of Nigerian government, welfareism, security, living in peace, education, and all that. Health-wise, you must ensure the wellness of Nigerians. But are we seeing this wellness?
That's a question that remains unanswered at the moment. Let's talk about the security situation. The Nigerian Army has court-martialed 1 officer, 16 soldiers over gun running in Jos, Plateau State. Just weeks ago, the governor was talking about how people within the military are aiding and abating the insecurity in the state. This justifies that statement. What do you make of it?
Honestly, before I even come to that, just in case we will mention this one, remember in the same plateau where some people connived and kidnapped Reverend Father of St. Vincent de Paul, kidnapped Reverend Fathers, and they turned out to be members of that inner circle of the church that became the suspect. See, that is the real meaning of Judas in a system. Also, those people should face the full scale of the war. Now you go back to the issue when people have been court-martialed. Plateau crisis is lingering on ending. Now suspects are on ground. They've been nabbed. They have been tried. What is the issue? Gun running. Bullets. You have been given these things in custody of Nigeria for Nigerians, to protect Nigerians, but you are now selling it to the bad guys to kill innocent people. What is it all about? Money. What is it all about? Your own selfish interest is criminality. And good a thing that the GOC third mechanized in Jos, General Abdulsalami Abubakar is doing a nice job. I think bad eggs must always be rooted out so that they don't contaminate others. If a finger touches kerosene, if you don't clean it, if you don't wash it, it spills all over. And you dip it inside food, that food is spoiled. So Nigeria, if we get some of these roots, when we're talking of illegal arms coming because of the insecurity in Libya, according to former President Buhari, now we're having guns. Look, keep this for peacekeeping, keep this to enforce law, keep this to maintain law.
Okay.
You are the one stealing and selling. That's a double crime, double tragedy that must be met with proper law.
Kudos to the Nigerian army for fishing them out. I believe if there are more within the system, we need to also go after them to mop up and clean up the system for better service delivery. Mr. Benjamin, as always, appreciate your invaluable contribution to the analysis this morning. Thank you most kindly for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks again.
Right. Okay. That's our show for you today. Thank you most kindly for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing, live at 8 a.m. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Good morning and thank you for watching Daybreak.